Hey Chris, it's you from the future. I see you're at that part of your YouTube channel where you're like trying to make complex YouTube intros and make your videos better instead of just keeping it simple and giving the people what they want. Come on, man, just make the video. All right, well, that guy was pretty rude, but hey everybody, this is your boy Chris Reed back with another video, and today I want to talk about the uniqueness of Reason and its rack. And I also want to share with you guys a story of how I was able to use Reason as a teaching and learning tool back when I was in college a few years ago. Us as Reason users, we definitely know how unique Reason is with its rack. The ability to add instruments and effects and actually create effect chains with modulation and all of those things, and the fact that you have the opportunity to use these modeled instruments with cabling and all of this routing that happens when you flip the rack. And this can be daunting and also complex for some users. I actually asked you guys, the subscribers and viewers of this channel, if you thought Reason was too complex. And for the most part, the thing that people brought up was the cabling and routing that happens behind the rack. But the majority of people also agreed that once you learn and get into it, it becomes fun. And that's because Reason is the type of software for people who are creative and like to tinker and like to fiddle and learn the intricacies of how the program works, and also how you can change things and make things work to your advantage so you can be as creative as you want to be. Reason's rack and its real world modeled patching system is one of the things that make Reason so unique. But it's also one of the things that shows us how technology and how it has improved over the years has changed our approach to music production, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Let me jump back to past me so I can explain. First, I want to make a disclaimer. This is not about choose this DAW over that DAW. As Reason has stated by their roadmap and what they're doing with their software, they actually want you to implement Reason's rack inside of other digital audio workstations. So I don't think it's an issue of competition. It's more about the opportunity of collaboration. So flipping the rack is when you actually turn Reason's rack around and you see all of the patch cables that are there and all of the different instruments, the different devices and combinators, and use things like control voltage in order to create automation and in order to create modulation inside of your instruments with filters, envelopes, all of those things. All that stuff is great. Here is the problem with it and why some people might think it's complex today. The reason why it seems like a complex idea is because we're moving further and further away from big studio production. What I mean by that is, when you get into the earlier stages of making music, most music was made inside of these studios. You had to rent studio time, or hopefully if you were lucky enough and blessed enough, you actually owned a studio. And therefore you had access to huge mixing consoles and all of these different instruments and patch bays that you could use to make your music. And 9 times out of 10, you had a sound engineer that was running everything for you, and you could actually just make your music, record your music, and somebody else was doing that stuff for you. Today, it's not as complex. As a matter of fact, most people are making music with their phones. They're recording entire songs, they're making beats, they're doing all these things from phones and tablets, iPads. So what does that mean for music production and the complexity of having something like Reason's rack and the ability to move patch cables and have this modeling that's modeled after real world analog equipment? Well, that means that we're getting into a more and more digital age. And in this age, less people are concerned with what analog looks, sounds, and feels like, and they're more concerned with, can I just simply easily make the music, drag and drop my loops, and just get this thing out and make it sound good? We're not actually recording in big $1 million studios these days. A lot of music and albums are being recorded and released using simply their laptop or computer inside of home studios, or like, for example, my studio, which is inside of a garage. A lot of the music that's being made today, because of the availability of software like Reason and other digital audio workstations, a lot of music is being made a lot simpler and a lot less expensive. In the beginning, I would hear a lot of music producers say that they enjoyed using Reason because they came from analog gear and they came from those big studios, and they were able to get the same feel and look of their gear inside of Reason. So that was a big plus. But these days, with more and more home studios and people being able to make music from their laptops and computers, they're not really able to see how cool it is to interact with these different patch bays and different instruments and the modeling that Reason has done with all of their instrument and effects. Yeah, exactly. Past me is correct. It's not that Reason is complex. We're moving away from a time where we're using these real world hardware analog devices. So we're losing touch with the uniqueness of Reason because most people don't actually experience studios the way that we used to in the past. And that's a great thing because technology has actually allowed us to have these huge studios inside of these tiny boxes, which are our phones, tablets, and laptops. It's really amazing when you think about it. Something really cool that Reason could do in the future is like Reason VR. Like I see everything going the VR path, like everything's like metaverse and all that type stuff. Imagine like putting on like a VR headset and actually being able to turn the knobs and things of that nature. I mean, you could actually like learn how to use a real mixer in real life, and then you could actually really turn the knobs. But I mean, everything's on computers now. So yeah, VR Reason, do it. If you're a Reason user that needs help learning how to flip the rack and actually get into the patching system, then don't worry, I have tons of videos where I actually go in depth with learning Reason and Reason tutorials, and you can watch some of them right here. And while you're at it, if you're enjoying this video, how about flipping me a like? Thanks. All right, back to Past Me. I'll tell you guys a quick story. For example, I took a course in college and it was about recording techniques and becoming a sound engineer. And in this class, they had an actual very beautiful mixing console, and they had a patch bay, and they had all of these different sound modules and rack modules that you could use, but you had to actually take patch cables and patch them into the patch bay. If you wanted to use anything, if you wanted to record, and you had to have like lab hours. So if you wanted to record a song or you wanted to record a project and get your grade, then you had to learn how to use this mixing console with all of the patch cables and the cords and microphone cords and everything like that. It wasn't as simple as, hey, you have an audio interface, you plug in your audio interface, you plug in your mic, and you're good to go. We had to actually learn how to use this board and this patch bay. And for me, it was something very easy because I had some early knowledge from using Reason. I had some early knowledge in the class, so therefore I kind of came in with a leg up because I felt like, hey, I've actually done this before. So it kind of felt like training for me. Kind of felt like, hey, for somebody that's never been inside of a studio or never actually plugged a patch bay into another instrument or actually routed cables inside of mixing consoles or anything like that, when I took the same principles I was using in Reason and applied it in that studio, it was like one-to-one. Everything just kind of made sense. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed already so you can be notified the next time I drop another video. Give you guys tips and tricks and tutorials inside of Reason Studios. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, peace. How come we're wearing the same clothes? Well, you know, we don't really like change at all. So, you know, your style is pretty much the same. What can I say?